Everything's already recording. We just like to roll right into it.
Great. Let's do it.
Cheers. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
Really
having me.
appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we were able to find time.
I'm happy to be here.
So you've managed to do.
Good.
Thank you. So I used I've got the bar up here. I used the double oak
Very nice.
and I grabbed the lemons and the mint on the way home. 'Cause
Easy.
Long shift at work today.
Oh
But
gosh. That wasn't easy.
no. So I wanna dive in because you've managed to do something which I think is pretty incredible, and I wanna hear. Like, I follow it on Instagram a little bit, but I don't know how it got started and how you've managed to build it so
Sure.
successfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I can talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, you're a college audition coach.
Yeah, I am.
And-
I started a business and I call it New York City College Audition Coach.
Yeah.
Of all things. And it started because of the pandemic, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So my birthday is the 10th of March, and on the 11th of the March, the
Happy
city shut
belated.
down. And thank you. And on the 13th or 14th of March, I lost like $45,000 of income, which is like at that moment, and still now to me, like $45,000 is a chunk of money, right? So I freaked out. My parents were like, "You can move home and work for Amazon," like, which there's nothing wrong with working at Amazon, but I had fought so hard to make my living as an artist here in New York for so long. And I was like, I don't want to not do that, you know? And so I was like, maybe I can coach kids through the college audition process via Zoom. Because I'd always done it at studios that I had taught at in person, right? But it would be like 1 or 2 kids per year. Well, come to find out that the college audition coaching business, one, is booming. Like it's a big, it's niche, but it's really fruitful each year. There's lots of students that want it or that need it, to be quite frank. And it's always been on Zoom. It's always been on Zoom. And so,
Really?
yeah, this year I had one student in person. He lived like a few blocks away, and his mom found me on the internet, and she's like, I think we live like 4 blocks from each other. And she lives in the neighborhood. But so it's always been on Zoom. And so it's been since May of 2020 I've been doing it. And it's endlessly fascinating to me. I am good at it. I know I'm good at it. And it can, in the best of cases, it like changes people's lives. And in the worst of cases, like they just get into a school or two. Or I think I've never had a student that's gotten into less than 3, but there's always
Wow.
been accepted. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is kind of huge because it's really competitive to get into theater
Yeah.
school. Yeah. So Harvard's acceptance rate is like 4%, 4.6%, I
Is
guess.
that theater department?
No,
Or is that just Harvard in general?
That's just Harvard in general.
Okay.
But Harvard's one of the most difficult Ivy League schools and schools in general to get into.
Okay.
And that acceptance rate is 4.6%. So 4.6% of the applicants that apply get in. Elite musical theater schools, their acceptance rates can be as low as 0.75 to 1.5%.
Oh my God.
So you're talking about like University of Michigan, Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, Boston Conservatory, Baldwin Wallace, those elite musical theater schools. That's how difficult it is to get in. It's crazy. So the need for coaching is a serious need. Like it's and the process is super long, and so yeah, it's been really great, and I love it a lot.
Yeah. So what's the process like when you bring on a student and decide you're going to coach them through? Like, is it one session or is it multiple over weeks, or do you say with them once a week until they audition for one school? Is it by school? Like what's that process like?
That's a good question. And it starts with consultation. So you have a meeting, and I like to sit down with parents and the students or parents or guardian or whoever loves them at home yet, right? And I like to be really honest. So I'm not trying to take anybody's money. And so I've had 3 instances where I was like, this probably isn't for you, or like maybe not a degree in musical theater, look at straight acting programs. But it starts with that consultation. So we'll sit down and we'll talk about what they know about the college audition process, and then I'll kind of give them an overview of how it works, right? And then I'll have them perform for me. So do a monologue and like 32 bars of a song, and then I'll have an honest conversation with them about like, look, this is where I think you're at in your journey as an actor, and these are the schools that I think I might have for you in terms of like reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. And I give them a more formal list like the next day, but we talk about it in the meeting because I like to set expectations, and I don't want anybody to be chasing a dream of being admitted to the University of Michigan when there's no way they're going to be, number one. And number two, even if they were, that institution wouldn't serve that kid.
Right.
Right. So for a myriad of reasons, but because each individual person is at a different place in their journey, and the schools will serve them in different ways. And it doesn't mean that because you can't get into the University of Michigan for musical theater, that does not mean you can't be a professional actor or that you don't have a place in this industry. Because quite frankly, at these elite schools, it's about most of the time, it's about something else other than talent. It's what type you are. It's what voice type you are. It's that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, yeah. But that's how it starts. And then part of being a solo entrepreneur, I'm trying to decide what kind of business model I want. And so that's been really interesting. So like, am I selling packages of lessons, or am I selling a la carte, or what am I doing? So I try to offer packages because it also offers a discount. And also have been trying to undercut the market without devaluing my services.
Right.
Because private instruction is really expensive, right? And it should be, but I want to undercut the market, give a fair price, but also I don't want people to look at my stuff and be like, why would I go with him? He's only X amount of dollars.
Yeah. If you're too cheap, then it seems like you've got a lower quality.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it starts there, and then it usually generally starts in the summertime, like the summer between junior and senior year. That's when you really need to hit it. I think the college coaching industry kind of like tries to make it a year-round thing, but if you started right now, it would be okay. If you start like at the top of the second semester of high school, your junior year, those pieces will be so stale by the time you go to even film your pre-screen auditions. So it starts really in the summer, and then we hit it pretty hard, and then there's these things called pre-screens, and then we go from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So your first year was pandemic. So you said May 2020. How many students did you have that first cycle?
2, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many? So we're coming up on another one. Like, do you have people already signed up for this upcoming?
Yeah, a few, but it happens in my experience, which is still new. It happens pretty quickly, and like it seems like when it rains, it pours. Like I'll get like 3 inquiries in like one day. I'm like, whoa. But I'm hoping in the next few weeks to start to fill that roster. But my numbers have increased every year. And the number of acceptances and scholarship dollars that students have received has also increased every year. So things are going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But the business side of it is like, I have a BFA in acting. I don't have I don't have a bachelor's degree in business or marketing or development, or, when you run your own business, like you're all the things. Mm-hmm. So like all that kind of stuff is new to me, and I'm fascinated by it and enjoy learning about it. But I want to build Rome in like half a day, and it wasn't built in a day. Right.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So, this process is such that it's a yearly thing. And so people will interact with your content on social media or whatever, but they only need your services one time.
Right.
Usually. Sometimes the people will come back. But so, yeah, I started with 2 kids, and I'm at a few more than that now. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah. Are referrals a big part of this, or is it mostly social media interaction?
It's referrals and social media interaction. Yeah. And the referrals, I think that part of it only has a certain shelf life.
right.
If the year after you get someone into a school and they're really happy with it, of course they're going to refer you to all their friends. The parents are going to talk, and then the next year. But then if you get beyond that, you don't really know those people, right? So who are they referring you to unless someone comes to them? So that's been interesting too, trying to get the most out of referrals.
Strike while the iron's hot type
yes,
thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that sounds kind of like I'm using people or whatnot, but it's not like that. And when someone refers you, they want to refer you, right? And so I have worked with incredible families that have been just really kind and have really gone to bat for me, which I'm really grateful for. So
nice.
That too is now turned into like 25, almost 30 this past cycle. So
referrals or
students that have gone through. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot of growth in a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is all like technical stuff of it. What's your favorite part about, because it seems like it's a fun thing. You're working in the arts, you're working with kids, like late stage high school kids, and they're singing and acting for you, and you're kind of making them in a lot of ways better at both of those things. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite part about that?
I could answer that question in two ways.
Yeah.
My favorite part of it is the mentorship is helping to guide them through the disappointments. So you have these kids that they've been the lead in every single high school play that they were ever in, right? From freshman year to senior year. And they have these dreams of going to these big name schools. And the first thing that you do in the process formally is you submit like pre-screen auditions to most schools. Some don't pre-screen, but most do, which is a pre-screen audition is an audition to get an audition. These minute or two video clips, and every school has different requirements. It's a disaster. But we have ways of organizing it that are helpful. That's why you have someone like me on your team. But you send the pre-screens in, and those come back, right? And it is really hard to hear no from the University of Michigan or the Boston Conservatory if you've dreamt of going to that school for all those years. And you see, because the kids are on the internet and they're on the YouTube and they're on social media, and they idolize these people and they know where they go to school. And so if your first three pre-screen answers are no, no, and no, that's a lot. And to help them navigate that and to help them get perspective on why you'd be rejected, and the fact that there's so many more reasons why you would be rejected as opposed to why you would be accepted or passed on through that pre-screen. I really enjoy that. And the second part is it really helps people. So I'll give you an example. I have a student this cycle, and her name is Tiffany. So the kid, she seeks me out on her own from TikTok, 17-year-old kid, and she emails me, and the gist of the email is like, I'd love to have a meeting. I'm really excited about this process. I know a lot about this process, but I don't have any money. And so I was like, of course we can have a meeting. Like, it's no big deal. And this kid is so kind and so gracious and so intelligent, knows about the process and understands. So I know she's from a lower income family in Florida. She's really kind, really generous. And then homegirl sings for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. And shortly after that, this brave kid says to a stranger in less than 20 minutes of meeting that she just lost her father like a month prior. And I was like, trying not to cry on the Zoom, and like, this kid needs help. And so I scholarshiped her in a way that I said, this is my family and friends rate. I'm going to cut that rate in half, and you'll pay me half my family and friends rate every other time we meet. So it was like, it's like $35 something. The numbers don't really matter, but it made the coaching accessible to her in a way that still made her feel like she was compensating me for my time and she was working hard at it. And so, she goes through the process, and there's ups and downs for everyone, even as talented as she is. One of the first schools she hears back from as a final decision is Emerson, which is her dream school, one of her dream schools. And she gets in. And there's like this video online, and which is terrifying, but they all will videotape themselves or film themselves hearing from the schools. So they open emails, and it's like, oh my, why are you doing that? But she'll post this video, and she gets in. Emerson is $80,000 a year. Like, that's not a joke.
Yeah.
80 grand. And I was like, Tiffany, I don't know if this is going to be the look for you. Like, that's so much money. And a week after that, I was doing one of my side hustle gigs, walking through Times Square and leading like 80 people from Texas to this Broadway show. And she calls me, and she's like sobbing on the phone. Emerson waived her tuition. They've got her room and board is taken care of. They're buying her books. They bought her a computer. They're giving her health insurance. Like, this kid got the full ride of all full rides. And she just kept saying like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And like, to me, like, being able to play a small part in that, because my part is small in that. Like, you are the one with the gifts, and you walked into those rooms. Did I help put you in the right lane on the highway? Yes. But even having a small part in that is like, that's gold all day. So that's my second favorite part, I guess, is being able to change people's lives. Literally, I took this, whatever $80,000 times 4 is. I don't have to grade math, but
$320,000.
Thank you.
Plus room and board.
Right.
So call it 400 grand.
I've taken that and helped her wipe that away completely. And it's like, in situations like this, like, the other kid gets the money that like kind of needs the money. Like, in this instance, like, the universe has gotten it right. Like, this kid needs this money and she deserves it. And so instances like that, or even, half a full ride, or, this amount of scholarship dollars, the impact that it can have is really great.
This young lady, was this most recent cycle, or is she now at Emerson? Or?
No, so it's just recent. So she'll be attending in the fall.
Okay.
But after she was given the scholarship that 10 people in the entire incoming freshman class, not of the theater department, of Emerson College in general. 10 people will receive the scholarship. And so they flew those 10 people from wherever they were living in the country to Emerson to have this whole weekend. And she kept, I can't remember the expression that she was using, what the kids say these days, but something about like how nice the accommodations were. And she's like, I have my own hotel room. Like, oh my God. But like, she's so sweet. And also I think will have a career in musical theater. I really do think that she'll have a career. So that's my favorite part, the impact.
I can see that. That's huge.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it, and sometimes it feels like I'm sitting in my room, just a few blocks away, like, sing it again, Kelsey, sing it again. Yeah. That'll be X amount of dollars of your parents' money. But it's not that. It's so much more than that. But even on days that it is that, that's also important too. Because there's so much that goes into it. It's like, it's a numbers game, and it's where should you be applying and auditioning because of your grades, how much your family can afford to help you. Like, there are 7,000 different things that go into that decision. And those things were present, I think, when you and I were applying and going to school, but much less so. And the competition was way less. And in the last few years, interest in studying theater has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because, our industry was taken away from us. Like, more than anybody, our industry was taken away from us. Your Broadway debut was taken away from you for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
You were denied that because of this crazy thing, which to me would be like, why would people send their kids to school to study this? Because in many ways, too, it's a meaningless degree, which we can talk about later if you want. But why would you, but it's, even through the pandemic, numbers have gone up every year.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. I don't know if it's come up because by then you were gone. You were graduated. I didn't get into the BFA program when I auditioned. So we
wait, what?
So I didn't get in after I auditioned, and they accepted, I think, 10 or 11 people. And
were you our friend Alex's year? Did you go to? Was that the same
Alexander?
year?
Yeah, no, I was a year below him.
Okay, so you're a year below him.
Which, when you were a senior, I was a freshman.
I'm old as. Oh my gosh.
It's like 3 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But
and we're in New York after 12, 13 years, so it's fine.
Again, we're both old as dirt. But okay, that is crazy. I had no idea.
I had a feeling you might not have known. Yeah, I didn't get it. So if those don't know, the BFA program was the final 2 years. We auditioned at the end of our sophomore year of college, and I didn't get in. All of my friends did, all of the people. People that I won't name by name, but I thought I was definitely more skilled or focused than. Maybe not talented, because I think there's a difference between talent and effort and focus. Mm-hmm. And while my effort and focus was definitely diffused by college, general ed requirements, and I was also an RA. And when I was 19, I started bartending because my family lost a lot in the crash of 2008. And so we were pretty broke at the time, and bartending was good money. And so my effort and focus was diffused, but it was still high. Mm-hmm. And so that definitely made me feel a certain kind of way. But then I got a call from, I won't name his name, but the guy who taught Meisner better than Meisner over the summer and said, hey, you've got a spot if you want one. I'm like, what is going on? And it was because someone dropped out because they couldn't. I believe he said, and I don't know if he should have told me this, I believe he said this person couldn't afford the tuition and had to not return to Wayne State that year.
Probably shouldn't have told you that.
Probably should not have told. Well, he said a lot of things to a lot of people that he shouldn't have said.
Yeah, he should have.
And so, for that reason, not that this will ever get back to anyone, but I won't name any of these people by name. But yeah, that was one of those, all the way back in 2010, it was so not a thing that people were pursuing that I didn't get in. And then over the summer, they brought me in, I think just to keep the numbers of my 10-person graduating class in double digits.
Sure. Which is crazy.
Yeah. And then flash forward to, so I graduated 2012, flash forward to 2013, the year of like Ivy and Kelly and Britta, and they had like 30 some graduating people. I think maybe high 20s.
Wow.
They had more than double
Okay.
BFA
Wow.
people.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and I think it applied to your situation, although like just knowing the school and knowing what was happening at that time, like it's outlandish to me that you weren't admitted, but there were reasons why, and you know, reasons that probably had nothing to do with your talent, but that's just that
It was
I'm like trying to come up with like some smart like college counselor like
Yeah.
answer as to what there's not really an answer to that.
it was a weird thing because I remember saying to everyone, I'm like, it looks like I didn't get in. And they're all like, what?
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But you ended up, you did go through, you did matriculate through that curriculum, and you have a
Yeah,
BFA.
it was, and I don't know. So you mentioned degrees in theater are a useless degree earlier.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I agree as a blanket, but I think that I didn't learn very much that's actually useful out here in the real world.
Sure. Which is, you know, an issue with I think lots of students feel that way when they finish, regardless of where you go to school, some less than others, right? And I can certainly understand why you felt that way coming from the program that I had graduated from just a few years prior. But what were you just saying? But now I'm losing my train of thought.
The drinks aren't that strong.
I know. They're good though.
No, so I felt, so I'll elaborate a little bit. I felt frustration after being out here for a couple years with how it seemed like we weren't set up for success in acting or theater as a business, which is definitely something that you need to know because you need to present yourself as both an actor, a person that can do a monologue, do a scene, etc., and also as an asset to that production,
right.
You know, be it on stage or on camera. Mostly on stage, given the nature of the program, the way that it was directed. I managed to find an acting coach out here, and it was the deal of the century. We had 2 3-hour acting classes every week. So Monday and Wednesday from like 10 to 1. And it was, so 8 classes every month. $125, $150.
That is literally insane, ladies and gentlemen. That was a kind person.
Yeah, and talented, and smart, and he managed to. This is the metaphor that I've used for 10 years now. If Wayne State was the equivalent to like medical school, and I went and I wanted to learn to be a surgeon. Okay. Wayne State was like, this is a scalpel, this is a bone saw, this is a this is a this. And then you walk in and they're like, go perform surgery.
Sure.
And I'm like, but like, how do I, like, what's the scalpel good for? Like, when do I use what? And Tom, my acting coach, was the one who was able to be like, you have this tool. This is how you use it. This is when to use it. This is what you're doing wrong. You're like too much pressure. This one floats. This one glides when you eat, and you know, stuff like that. And I guess that was my biggest frustration with, you know, this guy was teaching me for a couple bucks an hour. Like, I don't know what 8 classes times 3 hours divided by $125 is, but
right.
It was dirt cheap
under his value,
and I still have an outstanding student loan debt of about $33,000 for. I've got a mental image of one of our teachers just screaming and smacking himself against the wall because he thought it'd be funny, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
the fuck?
Right? What the fuck?
You know?
It's these degrees. You know, no schools can get you in the room. Like the University of Michigan Musical Theater Program, that's going to get you in a room to audition.
Yes.
Right? Baldwin Wallace will get you in a room. No degree will book you a job. You know, if you go to medical school, if you do go to actual medical school, Wayne State has a great medical school, or wherever, you're going to get a job as a doctor, and that's going to pay you well, and you could take care of your loans, or lawyer, or whatever. Not so in the theater industry. In fact, you're making this large investment. Like Boston Conservatory is also $80,000 a year. That's a lot of money, and you're investing in a degree that's not going to give you a job, right? In fact, jobs are scarce throughout your entire life, and so all this investment, so it's a useless degree, right? But it's not, and I think part of what you were talking about, this synthesis. Well, how do you say that word? Synthesis.
Yeah.
Yes, bringing together your tools is something that I actually try to lay the foundations in my business while they're preparing to go to college, but also keep in contact with students in formal and informal ways to make them monetize the soft skill set that they have as theater makers. So when you're in a play or you work on a play on the production side, you learn to work collaboratively, you learn to show up on time, you learn empathy, which helps you read a room, right? I'm sure that you have friends, but I have tons of friends in New York that are doing nothing related to theater, but can say, I would not have this job that I'm making oodles amounts of money at without my degree in theater, right? It's the soft skills. And technology is changing so fast that skills will need to be learned even by people that are currently in those jobs. So you're not going to get a job computer coding if you can't computer code, right?
Right.
But that technology is changing all the time, right? So even the people that are currently in the field have to not relearn, but learn new skills. So you can learn a skill set. If you're someone that can go into an interview and read the room, be a human being before AI takes over everything, that is going to serve you really, really well. And I'm curious, do you think that in your job as a bartender, like, do you think that your actor training has helped you at all being able to like shoot the shit with people?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I rarely go on now that it was frustrating coming out here because I had bartended for 3.5 years in Michigan, and I went on interviews, and also like I was 22. I had a young face. I looked like a kid. I get it. How much can you trust that a kid is actually good at what he's saying he's good at? Fine. But after hitting a certain age and having a couple different better spots that people recognized on my resume, noticed that with that and with a little bit of age and all of these soft skills that I had already had,
Right.
I rarely don't get offered the job after an interview. I can't really think of a service industry job that I've gone for where I didn't get the job.
See,
And
yeah.
and we're talking some like high-end steakhouses in Midtown. Like I worked at one for 2 years, and once people saw that on the resume, like I got offered a job at 3 more. I didn't take them because steakhouse culture is not for me. But I got the spot that I'm at now, the spot that I started working at after my show closed. I barely interviewed. Like
Right.
I went and I met the GM on a shift because my buddy was working, and he's like, someone just quit. Do you want a job? And I'm like, I need one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I met with the GM briefly, and she's like, he recommends you. You seem great. You're in.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's, yeah.
that's fantastic. And these soft skills, like you got to be able to monetize them though. That's what I think it is. And for you, like steakhouse culture isn't the thing, but bartending is the thing, right? So and I think for some people, new performers that have just got to the city, working in the service industry doesn't serve them because they'll be up till 4 a.m. and they won't go to that open call or whatever. Side note, you need an agent and you need to get an appointment. Don't go to
Yeah.
open call. But that's a different discussion. But you have to have jobs that are not survival jobs. You have to have jobs that will help you thrive, not survive, right? And what are those jobs? They're high yielding income, low amount of hours. Bartending and serving can be that if it works for you and works in your life and your schedule. But putting all those things together. So it's the actor training from the studio, it's the experience in productions, right? And then also the real life stuff. So like the how do you file your taxes or all that kind of stuff. And then also what is your job that helps you thrive, not survive? That's what I think. If you could combine that all in a program, which I think some programs are, that would be helpful to actor training programs across the country. And it's something certainly that I try to do with my business is to help students monetize any skill set that they have, or even just being a people person because you studied human behavior for 4 years, monetize that. Turn that into money, and money that you make quickly that will allow you to have a life, and have a savings account and save for retirement, all that stuff. So, yeah.
What do you make of, because, we're actors, performers, soft skills. What do you make of all of the people that are monetizing like TikTok, Instagram, Reels, YouTube Reels, Facebook Reels, I heard are blowing up right now.
Yeah.
Influencers is kind of a term that I think gets flack because I think people find influencers to be fake and annoying, but like genuine, not that influencers aren't genuine, but like genuine like actors or singers that are putting just their stuff out and creating almost their own, let's use musicians, creating their own label on their own TikTok channel and all of that, like that brand new thing that didn't exist even 5 years after you and I moved out here.
Yep. It's this is what I think about it. It's not going anywhere, and you have to join it. You can't beat it. And so I think there is no replacement for quality in terms of being an actor. Like no replacement for quality training and technique and skill set. But in terms of bringing that skill set to bear in the industry and to offer yourself to the industry, social media is absolutely a part of that, and it's not going anywhere. Even if TikTok does get banned or whatnot, that something else will come along.
Yeah.
And I personally, with my business, have not lots of money, but like significant amounts of money have come from just me being on TikTok, and that's free marketing, right? It also frustrates the hell out of me because I don't understand the freaking algorithm. And like sometimes my videos, it'll get 30,000 views, and then some will get, which is not even a lot, but like, and then I'll have videos where for a streak of weeks, like 231 views. I'm like, what the fuck? But it's not going anywhere, and I think people turn their nose up at it are just going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
So, and how AI figures into that and the automation of everything, I don't really know. But again, that's part of the business side of things. But it's also fun too. I don't know if you find it fun. Like TikTok in particular, I think it's the creative part of me is like, it's fun to make these videos. And like, I have to balance in my week, like how much time I spend doing it. But like, it's here to stay, I think.
Yeah. Because I haven't been making that much content for TikTok or not that much for Instagram, which I've been on for years, but I plan to for this show, once I get things really rolling, once I start putting stuff out. Cause I keep hearing, if you want to go viral, if you want to get X amount of followers, if you want to have this trajectory of growth, you need to post like 2-3 times a day, which is a lot. But I follow people on Instagram. It seems like they do put something out 2 or 3 times a day.
Right.
And like these apparently scripted things, like these sketches. Like I follow this troupe of like 9 young actors, and I can't tell, but it looks like it's just a guy with his camera like this, and it's scripted because he's moving to the person who's talking before they talk, so he knows who's going to talk next.
Right.
So it's like rehearsed and whatnot, but they put out like 2 or 3 of these a day.
Yeah.
And it's so much.
Yeah, it is a ton. And I think, in terms of social media marketing, which is a whole field in and of itself, and when you are, you are your actor Inc., right? Mm-hmm. So you are your business, that you don't have a social media marketing team for you. And so things like content creation calendars can help, like make sure you're making enough content for what you need to drive that growth. And that's, again, stuff I'm still all learning about now is how do I make this amount of content in a way that is not, is sustainable. That is sustainable, right? And that's a whole interesting part of the game, this entrepreneurship, which being an actor is I think is, you are Justin Wagner Inc. Like that's what it is. So, yeah, it's definitely, you said you haven't figured it out. If you figure it out, let me know. I will.
Yeah. The frustrating thing that I've dealt with as an actor, because I've gone in for cold call auditions and you have the form filled out. The new thing that I've noticed is the how many TikTok followers do you have? How many Instagram followers? How many Twitter followers do you have?
Yeah, as I was leaving the world of auditioning often as an actor, that was starting to creep up.
Yeah.
And I think that that is one of the things that people turn their nose up at, and it's not leaving necessarily. So I think it's a balancing act of like how much stock and effort you put into it. And certain people won't have to do that, and certain people will. And it, I think you have to decide how you want to function with that for yourself. But I think if you lean toward interacting with it and doing it, it will serve you.
That's not a thing that you even touch on, really. I'm guessing for like college auditions, or like, or do you?
That's
or
a good question.
do you try to get them thinking about that? Because if you go to U of M for musical theater, you want to go to Broadway, I'm guessing, and that might be something that plays a factor for the Broadway auditions. Do you touch on it?
Yeah, we do, in a sense of like, I have a social media, like I have them do a cleanup of their social media, because schools, colleges, and universities, they will look at your stuff, and when something gets posted on the internet, it never leaves. It never ever leaves. And if you wouldn't want your grandmother to read or hear about it, or listen about it, you shouldn't have it on the internet. Really, I mean, you really shouldn't. I should clean up my own personal social media a little bit too. But college in Detroit was a lot.
Yeah.
But I touch on it in that way. And then when students are accepted to those big name programs, you gain a following. I had a student that was accepted to University of Michigan last year, and he's gained a following. Like, he has thousands of followers simply because he's a U of M NT. And so, just the responsibility of that and the monetizing of that is something that I have done my best to keep him level-headed about, and also talk to the family about that. And what do you do when you suddenly have this platform?
Yeah.
So,
do you, once a person that you've coached, once they get into college, and I guess maybe this hasn't happened yet if you just started in 2020, so I guess maybe, do you plan to coach them through auditions out here in the world post-college? Is that something that you're looking towards?
I have been fortunate enough to do that with most all of my students. So they'll, like, as semester auditions will come up, I just had a few kids, they're at Nazareth College. This story is crazy. So I had a student from Michigan and a student from Long Island, and they met each other, talking about social media marketing. They met each other on the internet through my social media, because I posted about both of them separately. So they found each other, they met each other, and then there are these things called unified auditions, where a bunch of schools come to New York, to Chicago, and to LA to be at the same studio or the same hotel at the same time, so families don't have to traipse across the country auditioning for a bunch of schools.
Right.
Because like, if you're a white female identifying person, you should be auditioning for musical theater for no less than 25 programs, which seems insane. But so the Unifieds are really helpful. But they met each other on social media, and then at New York Unifieds, they met each other because Jaden came in from Long Island and Avery came in from Michigan. They met each other. They were both accepted to the same school, Nazareth College. They both chose to attend, and they're living together. And they both separately texted me about their season announcement for the fall. And there's they're doing Midsummer, and so they were both like, classical, because that's it's a small part of the college audition process, but they're like those monologues, like, can we go over those? So yeah, but with most students, I've been fortunate enough to coach them after the college process, which I think again speaks to referrals and speaks to being a good person and doing good work. It's really important to me, my job, and it's really important to me that every student get the most amount of value from every second that they spend with me and outside of it. Probably almost to my detriment at this point as a business owner, but like I will go to the ends of the earth and bend over 3 times backwards to make sure that you are putting your best work into your auditions. Which is, it's a lot, and a lot of it has to do with like just calming the fuck down, to be honest with you, like, which I think we all could benefit from in this city or anywhere that you live. Like, just calm the fuck down, like go know that you're good at what you do, walk into that room, share that with them, and then the rest of it you have to let go. But at 17 years old, it's really hard.
So hard. Yeah, I mean, my acting coach, the one out here, I was 24 when I found him, and though I thought I was good, I I look back and I'm like, I was good, but I wasn't really. Um, but he always like his note that he gave me for like the first 3 months that I worked with him. It was the same note every time. It was like, just easier, just like,
Yeah.
because like there's you know how when you heard like the expression was like, I know you're a good actor because I heard it and it sounded just like a conversation you were having. It didn't sound like you were acting or something. Or like a million other like cliches. I would go in and I would, be like, hey, I'm Justin, I'm reading for this. And it's like, hey, I came here to pick up that package that might, and it just sounded
Right.
so like not natural at all.
Right.
He's just like, just easier. And I think he described it as like young guy stuff. He's like, I don't really know what the word is for it. I'm not educated enough for it, but it's like, you just got a lot of young guy stuff. You got a lot of angst and you're not like, as you get older, it'll go away, which is like, just intentionally, just like make it easier.
He was saying that you have, sorry to interrupt you. He's saying that you have young guy stuff that is coming through that's hurting the work that you're doing.
It's making me tense up.
Yeah. Okay.
And over, he was breaking down why I sounded like I did was I trying too hard to project? Was I trying too hard to sound like I was trying to do something? Like, did I have an objective in my head? And I'm like, is that what I thought sounded natural? I don't know. It was a whole different slew of things. And I don't think it's exclusive to just young guys. I think it's the same thing you said, where everyone can take a breath. But I think that's like the biggest note that I always remember going into any performance, just easy.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
And it's like, in this city, it is the most competitive city in the world for every industry, right? So you have to know that you're good. There's a baseline of talent that needs to be there, right? But you have to be a person to get, until AI again takes over everything, you have to get the job, so you have to,
for now.
Like if you talk, there's a woman named Karen Kohlhaas. She teaches an awesome audition, like monologue audition class. You should take it if you haven't taken it. Karen Kohlhaas, and she talks about being in thousands and thousands of auditions and just the shitty energy that people bring into the room. Automatically, if you bring that energy in, they're gonna be working against you automatically if you bring that energy in the room. So it's about like knowing that you're good at this, knowing that you love this, going in and sharing that with them, and then going out and treat yourself or whatever you want to do, but taking that breath of ease going into the room. I have another friend actually that says before you walk into any room that you're auditioning for, you should think about something that you really love. Like, and if I was to go to an audition, I would think of golden retrievers with babies, like interacting. That like bringing that energy in is going to put you in a place that's way farther ahead of the game than most actors, because most actors are miserable.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say most, that's a blanket statement. That's maybe not fair, but like a lot of actors are miserable.
I think actors that are having trouble finding work,
yes,
or maybe have been out. I mean, I've been that actor for a long time, and I was pretty miserable.
Right.
I know a lot of us were.
Right. It's the dream of it, and what you think is to be a struggling actor or be a starving artist. Is not fun. It's not cute.
Mm-mm.
It's not cute when your friends are getting, second and third promotions and are making, now can go on trips, and like they have to be weird about inviting you because they don't know if you can afford it. And then they offer to pay for, like, that happened to me. That stuff's hard. It's really hard, and you're never going to make a ton of money as an artist in most cases. And you shouldn't enter this industry as an artist of any kind for the money.
Right.
You should do it for the, love the art in yourself, not yourself in the art, says Stanislavski. But
who's that?
Oh,
I'm kidding.
What year did you graduate from art school? Did you go to Russia?
It changed. I did go to Russia. I did the month of Moscow program in June of 2012.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved it. I also love telling people like, yeah, I went to Russia for a month.
And right.
Yeah. And especially like right now, and
Yeah.
like for the last year and a half, that's always evoked a different reaction of like, when? I'm like, June.
Yeah.
Pause for effect. 2012. Yeah. I'm like, you should go. It's beautiful. And they're like, maybe not.
Maybe not
right now.
It's crazy. Like the opportunity to go to the Moscow Art Theater School and to, this school that Stanislavski created is insane. And the fact that our little school in Detroit has this program it was such a incredible training opportunity. And one of the cool things about it is that once you've gone once, you're permanently invited. I would not feel comfortable, certainly at this point, going to Russia. I don't think anybody really would.
No, and I mean, we're approaching June. I'm curious now. I want to ask if they're not.
They don't.
They shouldn't.
That's
the correct answer.
They should not.
They should not.
They should not. No.
Good. I mean, it's sad, and I hope. I don't know if Anatoly is still the dean of the Moscow Art Theater School. I know the person who's in charge of the program at Wayne State is good friends with him, and that's the connection that has it.
Who is now in charge of it? Because when I went, it was Dr. Thomas who established it in the 70s. But
I thought it was still him.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he's just in charge of that program while he doesn't teach throughout the year.
Okay, maybe. I know that Matt Foss, we're like bringing up all these names that people
name drops.
Maybe maybe not know. But he was in charge of it, and someone named Jill. I don't know. But anyways,
I don't know Jill.
I know we don't know anybody anymore.
Yeah,
they just opened that new facility there.
It's not open yet.
No, yes, it is. They had a whole production.
When?
You need to get up on your Wayne State.
I was just at the showcase 2-3 weeks ago.
Cabaret. They did an entire production. 2 weekends.
2 weekends? When?
Done. Yeah. What?
When?
This past, like they just closed today.
Weekend?
They closed today. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good, because I was talking to Michael at the showcase. And I'm like, is it open? He's like, I think he said it fucking better be, because we have a show opening in 2 weeks or whatever he said.
It really is. It's such a cool thing for Wayne State University. Like, it's a really expensive and state of the art, like, which was so needed. And a personal thing about that is it's interesting and cool to, because I have my issues with how the program was run and my education, but I am like a big Wayne Stater. Like, I'm a super dork about that, like Wayne State Mafia. But having that experience of watching that from afar, it's like my teachers are involved in that. In some ways, my classmates, we are tangentially involved. And then also I have students and parents that I've worked with as a coach. Like, 2 of my students were in that show.
No way.
And then also a colleague, Bethany Calderona, who graduated before me even. She is a voice teacher in Southeast Michigan, and she is the person that's helped me start New York City College Audition Coach.
Is that her maiden name? Are we thinking of the same?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's not her maiden name. Bethany Holste is her maiden name.
I think I was thinking of Beth Hedden.
Beth Hedden, yeah.
Okay.
She just got married too. But Bethany Calderona, like, homegirl gave me like 4 students that first year. Like, well, I had. It's a lot.
Semantics.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's going to be the first clip I post on TikTok.
Yeah.
Just that.
Bethany Holste, like Bethany Calderona, like, she is the person that started my business. And so to have a colleague, former classmates, current students, and current family, and teachers all involved in this thing, my heart was like a little sad that I wasn't there, but also was like singing for those students and the opportunity and just the place that they get to make art. So I'm very happy for our school. And, you know, it is what it is. But I think in life, like, you just have to take what you end up doing, right? And now with my business, I want to put you at the best possible place. But regardless, you have to go after what you want, and you have to get what you want out of life and get what you want out of your actor training and all that stuff. And so I think it all, comes out in the wash. If you're working hard and you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, it will come to fruition for you. And the alternative is to change that, change to something else.
I always tell people, because I'm, 32 and I'm still pursuing the acting. I auditioned the other day for something. I auditioned 2 times last week. And I tell people, I'm like, I'm just going to keep going until it happens, because I know, when I moved out here, I was 22, it was 2012. And there were like, I don't know, I'm guesstimating like 10 to 15,000 probably guys that looked like me, right, that were going for the same roles. And, we didn't all audition for every audition, but, when I hit 25, half of them had moved back home or started families. And when I hit 30, that 50% that had moved had probably become closer to 90, maybe 95. And so I always look at it as like, I'm 32 now. I've kind of grown into myself. I'm confident. I've got those soft skill sets. I'm easier. Like all that young guy
Yeah.
stuff is fading away if it's not gone. And it seems like I'm best set up personally for success right now, while also facing the least amount of competition that I ever have.
That's a really interesting way to think about it, how you're navigating the industry. And I think I agree with your assessment of you as a person. You're coming to a sweet spot, right? Which, you have your first Broadway credit, which is helpful and amazing. And congratulations again, by the way.
Thank you.
But like it is this sweet spot. And I think you have to have knowledge about the industry. You have to have organization. How are you living your everyday life and how are you making your money to pay your rent? And you have to have confidence, which you just said. And you also have to have perspective, about how difficult the industry is. And those 4 pillars, it's funny that we're coming to that in this part of the conversation. Those guide my college coaching process. Those 4 things. You have to understand what you're getting yourself into. You have to have confidence in it. You have to have perspective, and you have to have one other thing that I'm forgetting that I just said. But all those 4 things, you have to have those things in order to be successful. And I literally, as a person, can relate everything back to actor training. Like it just because it's about being a human. It's about like being a kid from Michigan whose family lost a lot of money right before he went to college, who basically put himself through college and is now a badass, has a Broadway credit, and is doing this podcast and like living by himself in New York. Like that's awesome. And that's why you're still here. And that's, you have to be really tenacious, I think, in every industry in life, but especially in this, being an artist or being an entrepreneur, like you have to really be tenacious and to know that it's what you should be doing and to know that you're good enough and to know that you are enough to do it. So
thank you.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting ride. Whew, I'm sweating after all that. That was really nice. Yeah, it's been one hell of a ride. What would you say because you've got a roster, you can't coach all 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 kids that are going out for a musical theater program or an acting program.
Sure.
What would you say are like your top things that you blanket recommend people to focus on as they go into these programs? Or is it those same 4 pillars that kind of apply towards like the business as a whole, like kind of know the schools and what they're looking for and whatnot? Or
I think it really is. It's knowledge, it's organization, confidence, and perspective, right? So you have to know what the process is like, right? You have to know what you're getting yourself into. And the knowledge also is a self-awareness thing, right? Like I'm not a singer, never have been. I'm not going to go in for musical theater programs, right? So knowledge in that way, knowledge about how you get into theater school, what the process is like. And then you have to have organization. You have to be organized when you're applying and auditioning to 25 schools or 30 schools. I had a kid come to me the other day with 40 schools on her list. I said, no, ma'am. But every school has different requirements. So you have to be organized. You have to have your spreadsheet. You have to have your that together. And then you have to know that you have the right material and that you know that you do it well and you're doing your best work. So that's the confidence. So knowledge, organization, confidence, and then perspective. Those are what I would recommend to students that are seeking admission to any theater school across the country. Those things will help set you up for a successful process. And whatever success means, if the average acceptance for a white female identifying person that's auditioning for 15 musical theater programs, it used to be 2. It is now under 2 and really hovering around 1. So that's 14 no's.
So you mentioned this earlier and I forgot to circle back to it. You said a white female identifying person should apply to 25-ish programs.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask why specifically that demographic and that number of schools. Is that the reason? Is it because
we don't need more white girls in the American musical theater? We don't. And so programs are finally starting to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. And instead of having one person of color or like, to be a little frank, like the token black girl, we don't do that anymore. Or programs that are worth their salt are not operating that way anymore.
Right.
And so, yes, is it maybe a tiny bit harder to get into a school that's really competitive if you're a white female identifying person? Maybe.
You said that acceptance rate is
0.75.
0.75. So it's already hard.
It's already hard.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact still remains, even when you're talking about that, there are still, on most occasions, more white people in the class than there are people of color. So like, I don't know. I'm thinking of this one family, like this father, like his kid had gotten into all of the big schools, and we were at a dinner after the process was over, and he kept harping on affirmative action. Like, I was so mad, Justin. I literally, like, I put $200 on the table and I left the table. I was like, I cannot be at a table with you.
White father
Yes.
complaining about
Yes.
affirmative action.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know how it affects the musical theater audition process. And because he's mad about the University of Michigan. She made it through the pre-screen and did not get in.
Okay.
And I was like, there are so many reasons. And that's the one school. There were other schools that said no to her, but like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, how dare you in the face of our country's history? I don't know. I don't want to get a political soapbox, but like, it's just like, that's crazy. And so that it's a numbers game, right? To answer your question, then it's a number. You want to have enough schools to give your odds of admission, you know?
Yeah.
There were some crazy schools saying no to some crazy talented kids. I was like, excuse me, Ball State? Excuse me?
Yeah.
But like, it's a competitive process. So, which is why people have folks like me on their team. So
That's great.
yeah, in life and in college auditions, you have to have knowledge, I think, organization, confidence, and perspective. That's my jam.
Those are 4 very solid pillars.
Yeah. And that just came to me actually the other day. I'm like having my website redesigned, and so like trying to come up with all this content, and like those 4 things, it was like, it hit me like a smack in the head. I've never seen that on anybody else's website, those 4 things. And those 4 things to me really are guiding principles, certainly for that process, but I also think for life, you know?
I just saw the poll for the new logo.
Oh yeah.
And I voted, and I'm like, ooh, 75% of people agree with me. Fantastic.
It's number 2, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be, that.
Fantastic. You heard it here first, but this is going to come out after it's designed. So you heard it here last.
Check that website out.
Yeah.
www.nyccollegeauditioncoach.com.
Amazing. I think that's about an hour. I think that's a great place to end.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for coming on. Dude, it was fascinating hearing about it. I really appreciate you taking the time, coming all the way up here from 2 blocks down.
Right? My pleasure, man.
Yeah, come on again anytime you want.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Perfect. We did it, man. We did it.
We did it.